It's exciting, the prospect of getting an award. The cathedral is absolutely beautiful, and I've never been here before, so that's absolutely fascinating. And it's just such a great honour. Now, Kill the Black One First is a memoir, and it's my memoir. And the title comes from something that was actually shouted at me when I was a cop on front line in Brixton. I was the only black cop at Brixton, and one of the rioters shouted that at me. And it's something I remember for the rest of my life, let alone my career. Well, I absolutely love the policing. I love the policing, but one of the things I was warned about before I joined the police was I should expect a hard time. I should expect racism, and that's what I got. But at the end of the day, I absolutely loved the policing. I loved helping people, and I loved catching criminals, and thoroughly enjoyed that side of the job. And that's what kept me in the job. Well, I think when people feel they want to give up, I mean, firstly, I've done a lot of private study myself by distance learning. I did an MBA by distance learning. I've done 3 postgraduate qualifications. I did an LLM, the bar vocational course by distance learning. I've done a lot of personal study. And I think with every course, I've often thought, well, I won't be able to finish this. And I have done. And I've been pleased that I have done. And I think it's just not giving up, actually having that resilience to just keep going, even through the tough times. That's what I've always done. That's what I did in my career. That's what I did when I faced racism. And I'm glad I faced it and overcame it. I think the problem of tolerating racism in the workspace is I didn't tolerate it. It was very much a case of how to deal with it. Some things I could deal with immediately by challenging people straight away and face to face. Other things I either had to report people or wait my chance to deal with the racism. It was really a case of what was appropriate. So sometimes the racists were my bosses, and that was really difficult to handle. The other thing with my colleagues was that some amongst them were either racist or used racist language. So not all the cops were racist, but some of them would use racist language. And at the time, people thought there was nothing wrong with that. It was quite acceptable. It was the Alf Garnett era where there was racist language used on the television. So some of the cops didn't feel they were doing anything wrong. So it was very much a case of the fact that I had to challenge them without alienating them, and to use the voice of reason for them to see my point of view and the impact of their racist language on me. And generally, I was very popular. So generally, people were very receptive to critical comment, to challenge, but sometimes people had to be reported. I don't know why there's still racism now. You wouldn't expect it. You'd see some of the black players in football matches and the way they're treated and people shouting racist abuse. I'd recently been to Chelsea with my son and seen black players being the subject of racist abuse. And I just think, well, I used to see that in the late 70s, and I can't believe that is still going on and that it hasn't changed. I think generally things have changed for the better, certainly in the workplace. I've been a boss of 2 big organisations, and racism was very, very unusual when I ran those organisations. One is the Chief Constable of Kent, where I had nearly 7,000 staff and a £300 million budget. The other was a smaller organisation, which is a bit like Ofsted, but inspected prosecutors. And I can remember a handful of instances where people reported to me that they'd been the subject of racist abuse. So it was very unusual. Certainly my experience in my early days was it was commonplace. In the police force, there is a specific disciplinary offence of racist conduct. And if officers are racist or say racist things and they're found guilty of racist conduct, then they can be actually asked to leave the police and actually dismissed from the police force. That wasn't the case when I started and was in the police. So officers have got that hanging over them. They know that if they use racist language or behave in a racist way, then society says that's not acceptable. I think one of the problems with children in care is that they're not aware of the advantages of going to university, the benefits, often as to how they could go about doing that. I mean, I certainly, when I was in care, the prospect of going to university, it was only because I joined the police cadets, and having got A-levels, the head of academic studies said, well, why didn't you go to university? I didn't know what I could gain or what benefits there would be. And it had never been suggested to me anyway, either by teachers or anybody in care. I think there were very low expectations and a stigma attached to children in care. And that's probably why not as many go to university as you'd think or could do or should do. Well, I started studying law at the end of my police career. I looked around, there weren't any other black chief constables, and I thought there's no prospect of me being a chief constable, a chief of police. So I started the studies with a view to being a lawyer. And I applied for the chief constable post in Kent, not expecting to get the job. And well into my studies, I then was successful in getting the job. And I had a dilemma, and I continued studying for the law qualification and went on to qualify as a barrister, which was extremely tough whilst I was doing the chief constable role as well. But there was added value in terms of added knowledge that I had and brought to the job, and was invaluable when I was having discussions with my legal department. I was far more knowledgeable than I'd ever been, and took a lot more interest in the legal issues that I'd taken to them. I think to be able to complete some of the studies that I did, I could not have done them full-time or even part-time. I did an MBA by distance learning through Henley Management College, as it was called at the time. And I couldn't have done that any other way other than by distance learning. And it meant I was able to work, but also study as well. The distance learning facilities were invaluable. It was very good student support. And I thoroughly enjoyed the studies, but I couldn't have done it in any other way. I mean, even part-time would have been too time-consuming for the work I was doing at the time. It also meant that my career wasn't held back as well, which is important. I was able to work and study, I think, through managing my time probably to the minute really well. I think I would have each day timetabled and be very clear about when I was going to study, and then make sure that I would get down to it. I think the fact I was working as well and studying meant that I was more conscientious about ensuring I got a decent amount of studying done a day. And also I'd use any spare opportunity when I was on the train, bus. I would be studying, even on holiday on the beach. I even had some of my textbooks on the beach, which was quite funny, and the family thought was quite strange. But any opportunity I would take to study, and enjoyed it, of course. I enjoyed it. I think undertaking a course of study is something that requires a detailed amount of planning, knowledge about the course, what the demands are going to be in terms of time. And I think anyone embarking upon a course of study needs to be absolutely clear about what that will mean in terms of the demands on their time and their personal life. And there'll be big sacrifices that will need to be made. But then there are huge rewards to be gained at the end of it. Gosh, what is next for Michael Fuller? Well, I certainly would like to do some more writing, in terms of writing another book, maybe a true crime type case. Much of my career has been dealing with detective work and solving crime. That's what gives me a buzz. I like speaking, and I've done professional speaking as well. That's kept me busy. So that, I'm going to continue doing that as well. I've been to book fairs, promoting the book, talking about some of the crime issues, and really giving help to some organisations that are tackling crime problems, intractable problems of knife crime and other problems that affect our society today. I want to use the knowledge I've gleaned and gained to benefit and help others.